So I woke up this morning to a viewer in my DMs sharing with me a screenshot and informing me of a post on YouTube from Sipping Tea with Me Joe's community page. She was over there being her usual thirsty self. Well, luckily for her, her post was that little straw that broke the camel's back. But unlucky for her, she's now going to be the target of a lot of pent-up rage regarding this subject. So let's start with me reading to you her post on her community page. On her YouTube channel, Sipping Tea with Me Joe's community page, she writes, "Steve McRae, apologist, you suck. So EKC people suck. Well, you were just asking what shall my next entitled vid be on. I'm voting for this one. This one right here. Who am I kidding? Of course not. She is covering for our apologist. She would never dare go against the cult leader. Has a wife, mother, daughter, and a woman, surely someone saying, I believe him, his friends believe him." I don't quite understand that sentence of hers, but okay. "You never going to make a stand. Did you read the story of the utter torture the woman went through? Women, plural. Notice that. Use of a G word. Maybe watch Nate the Lawyer video. I'll never understand a woman, again, plural, a woman, being okay with this. Other things, okay, I kind of get. He has a gift of gab. But this, I'll wait." And then she links a video addressing EKCPeopleSuck's hangout with Steve McRae. So I'm a little confused. Am I supposed to be doing an entitlement video on her video or on my video? I'll gladly do that. But first I want to get through this video because I had a lot to say on this matter. Now, the situation that Joe is referring to, it stems from 2019. I believe it was like the summer of 2019, like August, around there. Steve McRae, everyone's favorite YouTuber it seems, did a video on police accountability, or rather on police auditing, taking stock in police accountability. And in one of his videos, he brought on someone who runs a channel on YouTube who regularly discusses the issue of police accountability. This channel's name that he had on is called News Now Houston, and this channel is run by a man named Earl David Worden. Earl David Worden was convicted of SA in the 1980s. I think that talking about it right now is just going to muddy the waters on this issue. Maybe the crime can be discussed at another time for another reason, but I'm not going to exploit this crime to discuss it for this issue. When Steve had him on the show, Steve did not have him on the show for anything regarding his experience with crime, his experience with being arrested, his experience with the law. It was simply only over his YouTube channel and his experience auditing the police, keeping them accountable for their actions, which, I mean, I think we can all agree is not a bad thing so long as it's done properly. And this was Steve's point. He wanted to make sure that people understood how to do it properly. And this is where News Now Houston came into play. They were able to convey information to Steve that helped others understand the right way to go about doing this, because there are a lot of wrong ways to go about doing this. Now, I don't know the specifics of what happened because this was 2019. It's already 2 years later. And I don't know I would have cared back then. But regardless, apparently someone took major issue with this, a woman named Fiona Robertson. So Fiona did a video discussing her feelings on the matter. However, in the course of doing her video, she did get a lot of things wrong, which, I mean, some could argue semantics, whatever. I'm just going to argue it was bullshit to do the video for your reasons to begin with, okay? Regardless of how truthful you were in the video. And I say this because of one thing. I personally don't agree with Steve's decision in inviting this man onto his channel for any reason, okay? However, I don't know that I wouldn't have done the same thing because I'll be honest, out of everyone who's been on my channel, I haven't looked into the background of anyone. And it never would have crossed my mind to do so, really, because it's a YouTube channel. It's not a major news organization, my channel. It never would have crossed my mind to look into the histories of people, of guests or whatever on my channel, because it's YouTube. But now, seeing what's transpired 2 years later even over this, I have to say I'd be more inclined to do that now. I'd be more inclined to do some little investigation, do a few Google searches on someone to see what comes up. That being said, I don't agree with Steve's decision in choosing to still have him on his channel. I do agree with Steve having the right to make that decision, even if I disagree with what it is he decided. And I say this because this is his YouTube channel, and he didn't do anything wrong. There isn't anything illegal against this man appearing on a YouTube channel to discuss police accountability. He was convicted of his crime. He was sentenced for his crime. He paid the price for his crime. So in the legal sense, he can do pretty much anything he wants, well, except for vote, apparently. And just because I don't agree with his decision here doesn't mean I don't agree with him as a person. I mean, let's face it, my comment section is filled with people who disagree with something I said or did. And you can argue semantics all you like. You can argue and say, well, because of this man's history, he shouldn't be given a platform for any reason. And I'm not going to sit here and say you're wrong, because you're not wrong. I'm also not going to argue against the argument that he's paid his debt to society and therefore he can appear on a YouTube channel. I don't think that's wrong either. I think it all comes down to personal choice. And when it comes down to personal choice, it's what you would do if placed in that situation, not what you think other people should do, as if they owe you to do your decision. Now, let's say that you're like me and you don't agree with Steve's decision in this case. Great. Tell him if you like. Say, listen, I don't agree with the decision you made. I would not have made that choice had I been in your shoes. Let me tell you why. Okay. He doesn't have to agree with you. He doesn't have to see your light. Okay. He can say, I respect your decision. I respect what you're telling me. I disagree. And then that should be the end of it. That should be the end of it. You know, you're not obligated for that to be the end of it. No, you have a right to really do is say whatever it is you want with some regard. But that doesn't make it the right thing to do. Like, for example, what's not right, and this is not subjective, this is just flat out wrong. It is not right to then call him our apologist because he didn't see things your way, because he did not internalize your trauma, your experience, and make it his own and act accordingly in your eyes. Now, I can relate to this personally because I myself have gone through something just recently in this regard in the YouTubes, okay? Not too long ago, I made the choice to be friendly to another content creator here on YouTube. Someone who a lot of people on YouTube have found to be polarizing. And I'm not going to disagree with them on that. Some things he did say were kind of upsetting. Absolutely. And people absolutely had the right to be upset with him. You'll never hear me say otherwise. I just chose to not join in with the herd and going at him and attacking him and pushing him even further or solidifying himself in the views that he already had. I decided instead to hear him out, to listen, and to take the time to talk to him, to try to explain things to him. Now, I don't know if or how much good my efforts have done. I will say this much, though. He has never spoken to me ill. He has never stepped out of line, in my opinion, as far as how he's treated me or discussed things with me or referred to me. He's been nothing but respectful. And I do see that he has made growth overall. Whether or not that growth has come from me, I don't think so. But I think it's just been life overall that has done it. But I've seen some changes in him, in the way that he sees things and how he understands things better when coming from perspectives that he does not hold. But when this all started, when he came into a chat and he was asking questions. Honestly, he was asking questions. They were still kind of messed up questions to be asking, but they're not questions I've never heard a man ask before in regards to SA. These questions are typical, I would even say, for a lot of men. So he was asking questions. And rather than hate on him and jump on him and shame him for asking these questions, I decided to try and answer his questions. And when I expressed to others that if they wanted to stop any of the back and forth between them and this content creator, when I suggested to them that they stop initiating or contributing to the back and forth, I was then called our apologist. Now, mind you, this content creator has never, ever, to my knowledge or to any law's knowledge, arred anyone, okay? Never. But I'm called our apologist because I dared talk to someone who was showing trace of misogyny in hopes to maybe erase some of that misogyny. That made me our apologist. You believe that shit? Yeah. Then, in the course of me being called this, another content creator then made a statement on one of her streams. Oh, a stream that was entitled Our Apology. That was a 2-hour stream about me, mind you. She then made a comment about how, well, at least it seems that she's never had anything like this happen in her life before, which is good. I'm glad to hear that. So, and this content creator. She's an advocate for victims, mind you. Okay. So this advocate has already made the determination that I did or did not have trauma in my life. And she's already deemed me worthy or unworthy of any kind of compassion from her as a result of any trauma I may or may not have had. Now, call me crazy, but I'm not sure who that's advocating for, because it's not advocating for victims or potential victims. It's not advocating for women, since technically I fit into all those categories. I'm a woman and I may or may not be a victim. So I'm not sure who she's advocating for there, other than maybe, I don't know, herself. That is who she's advocating for. In fact, now that I think about it, all of her videos are pretty much advocating for herself, her own anger, her own hatred, her own, dare I say, reverse misogyny. See, this is what pisses me off, because people are pushing the envelope so far that they have now me thinking of terms like reverse misogyny, which is not a thing, should never be a thing, will never be a thing. But yet here I am talking about it like it's a thing, because people are pushing shit too far. Before I get to the part that really pisses me off, I want to first go over something real quick, okay? Term our apologist, because I think it's really important to keep in mind what it is this term is saying about someone. While looking into the term our apologist, I came across this website here by Sarah Bailu. I think it's the pronunciation. If it's incorrect, I apologize. Now, I found this website to be very resourceful in terms of information and explanation, especially in a way that helps others understand it who may not be personally experienced in such matters. Now, I want to point out here, one part that sticks out the most, and I think that this is really, really important, is if you've entered into conversation and dialogue about the issue of SV and violence, you may have heard the term RA. While this term hasn't yet made it into Webster's dictionary, an apologist is someone who makes a defense in speech or writing of a belief or idea. The term our apologist is used by someone to describe an individual who defends an R myth, like a victim is to blame for her essay. So that is what an R apologist is. Now, if Steve were to say, well, I don't think that he was guilty because I don't think that R is really a crime, that would make him an R apologist. Or if he said, well, I don't think that he should be held responsible because what he did, okay, yeah, sure, it's a crime, but it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's just R. That would make him an R apologist. Or if he said, I don't think it can really be held against him because I think the victim kind of had it coming, that would make him an R apologist. So for you to take that term, R apologist, and apply it to someone for any other reason than reasons such as that, kind of makes you exploiting the term. Which then brings me to the point of this that really kind of pisses me off. Now, I'm not going to name or out the other content creators that called me the term R apologies for the past few months. No, I should. I mean, I have every right to. They're not viewers or subscribers, but I don't want to give them the publicity, really. So I apologize, Joe, that you're going to be the target or take the brunt of my ire. But, I mean, you did kind of ask for it. You brought it upon yourself. Oh, would that make me, like, an internet, like, calling out apologist? I mean, technically it would, right? That fits it, right? Now, Joe, if you had, before this interview with Steve and this Earl David guy, if before then, if you were investigating or looking into the past of people that were guests on channels, if this was like a normal thing for you, or even if you regularly did this with Steve's guests, okay? All right. Or maybe if you routinely and regularly went after people who were convicted of this crime, but, dared to do things, in life after paying their debt to society, then maybe I'd see your point. But I see no history of this in your past. So it seems as though you are taking this one instance and using this one issue to come at this one person you dislike because you dislike them. So it really just looks like you are exploiting this crime. You are exploiting this victim for your own personal gain, for your own personal agenda, is a weapon to use against Steve. You're weaponizing this crime. You're weaponizing this trauma that people feel from being victims of this crime. And you're using it because you don't like someone on social media. Now, you can argue against us all you want. And I'm sure that you have a million things to say on the matter. I get it. And I have no doubt, because you've made this known before, that you have personal experience with this topic at hand. And I empathize with you. And I fully support and understand you receiving anything you need to help you through your trauma. And I understand, and I'm compassionate towards any feelings you have on this. But I'm not going to take on your feelings, okay? I'm not going to then take on your hate and your disgust here and go after someone like Steve because of something you experience. I will absolutely defend you in your right to do what you're doing for the most part. But it's at some point you do start to defame the man, okay? You start to really tarnish his reputation, because by calling him an our apologist, you are saying more or less that he agrees, or at the very least he does not disagree with the thing that happened being a crime, or that the person who did it was a criminal for having done what he did. That's not what happened here at all, okay? At no point did Steve ever say that what happened wasn't R. And at no point did Steve ever say that what this man did was not R, okay? He never said that. And Steve emphatically, without question, disagrees with the act of R and believes it's a crime, rightfully so. He may not agree that someone is guilty of the crime, in the sense that he may not agree that someone committed the acts in which they're accused of committing. But that doesn't make him an our apologist. That may make him a little dumb, but I mean, hey, that's my opinion. But that doesn't make him an our apologist. I don't hold his opinion against him, because I know where he's coming from. I know his intent with it. And the intent is what matters, because if someone has the intent of an our apologist, then they will show this. He's not showing this. So when you and when other people use this term to come at myself, to come at Steve over things because you don't like us, you are in fact weaponizing that act. You're weaponizing that victim's trauma and using it against us because you don't like us. Now, what does that make you?